think I'm officially now a professional movie reviewer because I already reviewed Avatar Aang, The Last Airbenders movie. Now I'm reviewing Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I'm not going to start you off for some clickbait like I did last time. This movie is phenomenal. Let's talk about it. I'm actually going to be doing this video a little bit different than the one like last time. I'm going to be doing pro, con, etc, etc. We'll start off with a pro that's already on your screen. We got Tom Holland's beautiful suit in this movie. It was very similar to the one that we seen at the end of No Way Home, but it's just beautiful. It's more blue. It's less of a orangish tint to the suit as I feel like they had in No Way Home. It is just freaking a thing of beauty, and I love how they went away from the Tony Stark nanotech kind of thing, and this one he actually made in his little, I guess, apartment. Can't really say lab, and I just think it was fuego. Now my first con, I mean, it really isn't in the movie itself, but it's about the movie, and it's just the trailers. Now I get movies have been doing this for years and years, but I feel like more recently, like, the trailer just gives away the whole plot, basically. Like, it gave away bringing back Hulk, which, like, come on. You could have had, Bruce Banner or even a clip of Smart Hulk in there, and, like, okay, we would have been like, all right, we've seen this already, we hate him, but, like, you didn't really have to do that, and you kind of gave away some of the fight scenes with that. You obviously gave away the Punisher being in the movie, and I just feel like they gave away him having the organic webs. I feel like they just gave away way too much with it, and, like, once I'm seeing it in the movie, I'm like, oh, well, this is from the trailer. This is from the trailer. And I feel like I heard myself saying that at least, very minimum, 5 times, which is just ridiculous. They need to go away with that for the next Spider-Man movie. Speaking of the Punisher, my next pro is the Punisher. Now, I didn't watch the Punisher's TV series. I didn't watch the 45-minute special, so I didn't know much about going into him other than the fact that he's just a regular-ass dude with a gun, with some anger issues, with a troubling past, and he did a phenomenal job in here. I didn't see too much comic relief as other people. Some people saw a little bit too much from him. I enjoyed everything he did, and I especially loved that very end scene where he was waving to the people as if he were Spider-Man. That was arguably the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. It was phenomenal. He did a great job from beginning to end. Sean Berthal is obviously amazing. Cons, kind of a bit of a stretch like the trailer, because it didn't really bother me too much, but like a little bit of it did, is that I would like to see, I don't know, maybe another 5 minutes of Hulk. You know what I'm saying? This is our first real viewing of Hulk since what, like Ragnarok? And even then his like voice was all auto-tuning and all weird and shit. And I just love what I've seen. I wish we'd seen a little bit more. It is a Spider-Man movie, it's not a Hulk movie, so obviously we're not going to see as much of him as we would like to see, but at the end of the day, I'm happy we got to see him in the beginning, but it is just a little itty-bitty con in my opinion. Next up, for pro, I got Jean Grey. Again, not a big X-Men fan, as you guys probably seen from a lot of my shorts and my videos, and she just freaking killed it, man. I love the powers, I love the acting that she did, and I just loved how, like, she was hopping into the other bodies. Like, the black dude, I want to say, the black dude, he looked like he was in the young 20s or whatever. I want to say that was the first body she changed into, and he did such a good job to where I thought he was the main villain of the movie. I'm like, oh shit, who's this black dude? And then she hops into other villains. I just loved it, and I'm really, really, really interested to see what they do from her next, as we saw her getting onto a bus and going into another part of New York, I think, but I'm very intrigued. The con is that they kind of rushed. I mean, it was paced in a good way, but I feel like we could have seen a little bit more from like the fights with like Tombstone and Scorpion and stuff like that. It was kind of like a little montage of them. Maybe we could have seen a little bit more, but I'm not entirely super mad at it, but it is, again, a little itty-bitty con. My next pro is just, I love that this movie has Spider-Man 2 vibes. He's just like Tobey's Spider-Man. He's fighting with being Spider-Man. He's fighting with being Peter Parker. And I just love how he's got all the emotions and stuff going into it, and I feel like we haven't seen this side of Tom Holland's Spider-Man before, and it was just phenomenal, phenomenal stuff. My next pro and con kind of coincide with each other, so I'm going to do them together. A pro for this movie is that I love that Peter's evolving, but then a con for this movie is from that evolving, I did not love the organic webs. I just feel like Tobey's Spider-Man should have been the only one with that, and Andrew and Tom can have their own ways of making the webs. I did kind of sense it coming, but like at the same time, I feel like that was the one thing he could have kind of kept to keep Tom kind of have his own difference. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I did like all the other ways of him evolving, heightened senses, going through all the pain and struggles, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like his Spider-Man kind of had the easiest path in the beginning. Not saying overall, because obviously all the events in No Way Home and the Avenger movies and stuff, but I'm talking about like earlier on, you know what I'm saying, like Homecoming, Far From Home. But I mean, at the end of the day, I love that. I love the black eyes things, which was also in the trailer. And just all the arachnid taking over his body. I loved all the heightened senses, and I feel like that was much needed in this movie to just drive the emotion like, yo, what the hell is happening to my boy Spider-Man? The thing I love from this movie is that it's not your typical superhero. There's not really one, you know what I'm saying, just villain. You got Damage Control being like in the beginning, like, oh shoot, Peter's teaming up with them, and then they turn out to be the bad guys. You have Jean Grey, like, struggling with morality here, killing people because they killed her sister. You have Scorpion. You have MJ potentially can kind of look like a villain from different angles, depending on the way you look at it. You have Peter Parker questioning himself. Maybe he's a villain in his own story. I just love how it wasn't just tied down to a Thanos, wasn't just tied down to a Doom. I love how it was just kind of bounced around, and it just leaves us to think, oh my god, who's really the bad guy in the story? I did enjoy that. Okay, now this one's a big con for me. I would have liked to see just... I mean, we were seeing a good amount, but I would like to see a little bit more of a struggle from Peter, you know what I'm saying? I feel like... I know it's been a time jump from No Way Home. We don't know. Maybe he's been grinding, getting his money up, not his funny up. But, like, he just bought the apartment. It seemed a little kind of easy. He's got, like, the new Samsung, like, fold-up phone, I believe. Like, I would have liked to see a little bit more struggle from him, you know what I'm saying? With all that he's gone through, I'd like to see... You know, I wanted to be basically a broke bitch, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to be a bum, you know what I'm saying? Go through a lot more struggling than he did. Because he did go through a lot of mental struggling. And, yes, he did go through some physical struggling with the whole... arachnid thing taking over his body, but just a little bit more I would have enjoyed, but that's just me, maybe being a weirdo. Next one, maybe not a pro about the movie, but maybe just an observation. I just love how you can actually physically tell watching the movie that Tom Holland loves playing Spider-Man. Now, there's obviously been rumors that I think are real that they actually rewrote the script and that they were going to have this movie kind of be a la Amazing Spider-Man 2, a la Spider-Man 3, to where you have multiple villains and it's kind of over convoluted, and Tom Holland's like, nah, we're not doing that. We're not having all these villains in here and me going here, and then also bringing back Toby and Andrew again. We already saw that in No Way Home. Yeah, we'd like to see them in later projects, but this has to be the Tom Holland movie right here. And I like how he kind of put his foot down, you know what I'm saying? And you could just visibly tell that he just loves embodying Peter Parker, and he's the perfect Peter Parker, the perfect Spider-Man. Another pro is just them having a big brain. I think Tom Holland did have the influence on this as well, but just taking love from past Spider-Man projects and putting it in this one. For example, you ever played Insomniac Spider-Man, you might have noticed a couple of these attacks, because in that game, you hit a 2-button combo. I want to say it's like triangle and circle, and it does a finishing move, and there's many finishing moves from the game that you could clearly see in the movie. Tom Holland also said they took inspiration from Toby's and Andrew's suit and kind of warped it into its own little thing there. And there's also like panels from the comics that was also taken into this movie, and I just loved every single, I guess you could kind of say, callback that was in this movie. We got a few more pros here, but I only have one more con, and that con is, I don't know if it's just me, but I would have liked to seen the struggle with Ned and MJ last a little longer. Like the ending of the movie, which I'll talk about a little later, I think was perfect, but I feel like, why couldn't we just let him have this whole movie to struggle? Like, it's obvious that we're getting another Spider-Man movie, so I mean, if we already knew that kind of going into this, why not have the relationships be tested a little bit more? I feel like they could have held off a little bit more, because we literally had No Way Home, and this is the first movie that we're seeing them in. From that, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we could have went through this whole movie, him struggling with it, and then at the end, maybe we get a hint of something, and then the next movie, they do what they did here. But I mean, maybe that's just me nitpicking and trying to find things to dislike about this movie, because this is a really good movie. One thing that we were all fearful going on into this movie was the emotion, because it's a lower street tier movie. It's not an Avengers threat. It's not No Way Home with all the nostalgia coming in. You're not going to have Aunt May to die. You're not going to have Happy involved. And they just killed it with the emotion, you know what I'm saying? With the fake out with MJ, the fake out with Spider-Man's potential death. You got Punisher just selling the supposed death of Peter Parker. Like, it was just phenomenal stuff. Obviously, the stakes aren't going to be as big as, like I said, an Avengers movie or No Way Home. But, I mean, just they killed it with the emotion. I don't know how they did it with the lower stakes and the less characters, but they did it. All right, we just got two more pros here. One of the pros that I just talked about before is the ending. The ending was phenomenal. Now, we don't know what the ending really means here. Was that just muscle memory from Ned? Or did he actually remember Peter? And just, oh my goodness, literally, like I said, arguably the best scene of the movie was when Peter was outside and he sees Punisher pretend to be Spider-Man. And everybody's like, oh, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. And he goes from being literally the last person on Earth that everybody likes in the end of No Way Home to everybody loving him again. Obviously, they're not loving Peter Parker, they're loving Spider-Man. But at the end of the day, my man wants to feel loved. And I just love that. And it's not only a great ending, but it leads us to potentially the next movie. Like, oh shoot, what's gonna happen? Do they actually remember him? Is it just muscle memory? Where's this gonna lead off to? And then you also have the little phone thing where it says Spider-Man will be back. That's teaser. Is that Tom Holland Spider-Man? Is that Tobey Spider-Man, to where his whole world's getting ended? We don't know, and we have to watch. And that's what I like feeling. I like feeling intrigued. No Way Home did that great, and this movie did that great as well. Lastly, call me an idiot, but the last pro of this is just Tom Holland had to nail this movie here. And you're probably talking like, what are you talking about, bro? Bro's a bazillionaire. His wife has been in freaking 5 movies this year. He's good, bro. If he flopped in the Spider-Man movie, it doesn't really matter to him. Let me explain. You got the first Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Homecoming. You know, it's a fairy tale thing. Oh my God, they're bringing back Spider-Man. It could have been the worst movie of all time, but it's Spider-Man, one of the most loved characters of all time. We're bringing him back for the first time since Andrew Garfield, for the first time in maybe 4 or 5 years at that point. We're all hype, okay? But then he kind of just gets labeled as Tony Stark Jr., and he's very reliant off the technology. It just feels like Tony's kind of carrying him in here. He brought him into Civil War. And then you drop Far From Home, which is a top 2, depending on how you consider, top 3 worst Spider-Man movie of all time. And then you have No Way Home, which is very reliant off of nostalgia, very reliant off of older villains, very reliant on the dynamic between Aunt May and him. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like going into this movie, he had a lot of pressure on him just nailing a street tier Spider-Man movie with him being the pro character. Obviously, you're going to have side characters and other people being into it because it just won't be a movie without it. But I feel like he really went into this with a lot of pressure and freaking nailed it, man. He did a spectacular job. Obviously, like I said, the pros outweigh the cons, and Spider-Man Brand New Day is a friggin' phenomenal movie. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I actually have to rewatch it so I can kind of internally plot where I had this all-time Spider-Man movie-wise. I'm not going to give an answer now because I only seen it once. I will give an answer after the second time I see it. Like I said, I suggest you guys to see it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this style of video. Peace out.